Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, I'm Steve Novotney. I apologize. One of the team members, Erik Marple, was here, and Facebook just kind of took a poop on us, and we had to restart. So sorry about the first video.
It's a big show, Steve.
Yeah, it's a big show. How's Erik today, my friend?
Oh, not too bad. Glad to see some of the snow finally melting.
Yeah, you know, Michelle and I looked at the temperatures, and I'm going to have to get used to the new mic, bro, and my ball cap there. Maybe that'll work out better. Yeah, it covers my face. Hi. No, but, you know, we just have to, you know, figure it out as we go. It's not a big deal.
Well, and that's half the fun of going on these kinds of platforms is if your internet's out, the show's down. If their internet, you know, is out, your show's down.
Yeah.
There's so many things that you can't quite control. I mean, there's always a way, but...
Hey, there's the Eden ad. Got to tell you, had a great Frisco melt on Saturday. Mikey had a great burger, and my buddy Harry had a terrific, it really looked good, club sandwich. So, and the cheesy pasta. Folks, get the cheesy pasta at Eden Family Restaurant, 135 Virginia Street, Wheeling, Iowa.
Oh, thank you, Steve.
Oh, no, it was really good. By the way, folks, it's been a busy weekend. Got to give Erica a ton of credit. Of course, Erica Donahue, co-publisher of Lead News. This podcast, and it's hard for me to call it a podcast because, you know, I was on the radio from 98 until, and, you know, but the reception, the listenership, I'm humbled. Thank you so much. But now we're on Podbeam, Spotify, Apple, and Listen Now.
That's it. If you can make the content, I'm sure there's an outlet for you somewhere.
The content hopefully keeps on coming. You know, today, just so everybody knows, Josh Contraguerro from Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration, they made a big announcement last week. When I talked to Josh, you know, he was teasing it a little bit, big announcement coming, and, you know, I thought their graphic was really cool. You know, because they had the years that each office opened, and then they had 2021 and, you know, a mystery. You know, it was really cool. Josh said that, and he'll probably tell us a little bit about this next segment. Josh said that a lot of people were guessing Charleston or Martinsburg or Huntington or somewhere in West Virginia, even though they crossed the border to open their Pittsburgh office.
Sure.
And, you know, I didn't know what to expect. You know, they have a car wash in South Wheeling now. So, you know, you have a car wash. I'm thinking, oh, maybe the car wash is successful and it's a new franchise. I didn't know. And he wouldn't tell me. Okay. So then they make the announcement, and it's in Sarasota, Florida.
Well, what a nice place to leave.
Yeah. And I text Josh and I said, when we going?
Well, that's it.
I'll take you on a spring training tour.
Yeah, the beautiful Gulf Coast.
It really is. And Sarasota, there's Ed Smith Stadium. There's a team down there. The Pirates, of course, are in Bradenton. You got the Tigers in Lakeland. You got Dunedin. You got all kinds of baseball down there at this time of year. And, you know, I get asked a lot, do I miss it? And my easy answer is I miss spring training, but I don't miss anything else. The people were great up there. I'm not talking smack on them, but no, it just got miserable. You know, every spring hope's eternal or whatever it is, right? So the Pirates, you know, the players trying out for the team, so Bush League, you know, they have all the optimism in the world. This is going to be my rookie year. This is going to be this is going to be that. And by mid-year, they knew that they weren't going to be good. And so everybody just wanted to go home. They got miserable. They missed their families. And that part I don't miss at all, because that made my job very, very difficult.
Did you see any of the beaches?
Well, yeah. Thanks to advice from friends with the Pirates and with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, we formed a partnership and stayed out on Holmes Beach or Anna Marie Island. So we saw, you know, the last 4 or 5 years I was down there, we had the same kind of townhome. It was what do they call those two-sided houses?
Like a duplex.
A duplex. It was a duplex, but both of them had fireplaces and decks and everything. It was really a sizable duplex with 3 bedrooms. So the Pirates photographer was in one, the PG photographer was in another, and then me. So it was right on the Gulf. Okay, ask me how many times my toes touched the water.
I bet they didn't because you stayed too busy.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Yeah, the first year, Michelle and the kids, they came down a week. And then Michelle started coming down for a couple weeks. When my seizures got bad, she came the whole 2 months to take care of me, in those situations. She was, Mikey did, Manny, they know. They were all trained when the whole disorder developed. But, Michelle was like... and I'm not driving, everything. So she started coming down. She actually rented a bike one year. I think it was the first year because she didn't realize how busy I was. She thought I was on a 2-month vacation down there. And that, and I'm like, it comes out every 2 weeks. Maybe that allows some people to believe, but, every 2 weeks, maybe a day or two off. But, you leave the house at 8:30, you go to Pirate City, you go to McKechnie, you come home, you do quotes, you write. It was, we always went to a nice dinner.
Oh, well, you got to take little small time for yourself. This week, Steve, now that you've got a second job.
Third.
Any free time?
Don't forget about Right at Home, brother.
Oh, yeah, Right at Home as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a great company, ladies and gentlemen. If y'all have a relative that needs in-home care, dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, or like my mom just a couple of months ago, had surgery, needed some help. My dad's an old school husband, so there had to be somebody helping her do what she needed to do. Just give them a call here in Wheeling, folks. It is 277-3236. Put the 304 on the top of that, and you'll get all the information. April Wintermoyer is the owner of both the Wheeling and Morgantown offices. If you ask for April, you'll get April, and she'll be able to answer all your questions. But yeah, can't let you forget about Right at Home, bro.
Oh, of course.
But it was an opportunity to throw in a plug, so
that's great.
Thank you very much. Now, Erik and I have had an interesting conversation as he is growing this office/studio. The fake news story that came out last night. Some people thought it was real. And fake news is in all caps. There is a little promo at the top of it that says, hey, this is the 5th in a satirical series, fake news, so on and so forth. Really, that's all I can do. That's all I can do. I didn't mean to freak anybody out like last week. The fake news was Donald Trump came into town, bought half the island. He's going to put a golf course on it. I get a kick out of writing these. It's my release.
Well, and people love sensationalism.
Well, I guess that's what it is. I just wanted to write some fiction. When I was in college and I was doing WGLZ up there, Bill Hanna, who today is still my editor, he came to me and he's like, you're a hell of a writer. Why don't you write for the Trumpet? Just pick whatever. Let's talk about it, and we'll see if we can't get you writing again. And I was like, okay, because I was on the Trumpet staff when I first went to West Lib, and I loved it. I covered sports, whatever. So I came up with an idea of writing satires, holiday satires, that included fictional characters that were awfully similar to some of my professors at school. And when I was up there was a big division in the English department. Okay, some people were anti this guy, and others were pro this guy, so on and so forth. I won't get into all the dirty laundry, but I wrote holiday satires. I'm trying to remember all of them. I wrote one for Halloween, one for Thanksgiving, one for Christmas, one for Easter, and one for graduation day. And they were probably, I don't know, 1,500 words, and maybe less, maybe 1,000 words. And the Trumpet printed every word of them.
Oh, that's great.
And that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun for me. So that's kind of what this fake news is modeled after, because, after a week of writing, I come up with the idea. When did I come up with that? Sunday. It was probably Saturday. I grab a notebook, make an outline, come up with some ideas. And again, last night's was about a ghost being captured up at Roney's Point. Now, Erik, you grew up here. I certainly did. You've heard about ghosts at Roney's Point your whole life.
We have. We have quite a few of those haunted kind of places here in town. It just kind of goes with being an old town, I guess.
It does. It does. And there's a ton of history. And, I have several friends. When we first started, that first night, at midnight actually, I released a story. Before anybody knew what lead was, we released new stories every half hour on October 30th, 2019. At midnight, which technically it became Halloween, I released a story about midnight on the Capitol stage. I was at the Capitol Theater. Not that night, not Halloween night, but I went there. I set up my iPad, my phone, some other cameras and everything. So I guess you could say we did a paranormal hunt. But I just thought it would be really, really cool to be on that stage at midnight in a completely dark theater just to see, especially on Halloween, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You didn't know if Johnny Cash was going to start singing.
Oh, that'd be something, wouldn't it?
Oh, man. I was kind of rooting for Billy Joel, but he's alive.
Yeah, well.
So the fake news story was about a ghost. Okay. Roney's Point, by the way, folks, there's so many legends and so many myths and so many untruths, a lot of misinformation. Like after it came out last night, I had people commenting that, the Schmolbach Mansion is the actual hospital. And I was like, no, the Schmolbach Mansion, I gave them the history. I offered them the history because I wrote about it. It was constructed between 1910 and 1911. The Schmolbachs moved in. Then Prohibition went in 1914. That pretty much shuttered his business of brewing. And he died the next year. Some say of a broken heart. Others say it was congestive heart failure. Okay? His widow was actually his second wife. He met her because she was a hostess at a funeral parlor. Okay? And he went to a funeral, met her, and really kind of thought, hey, baby, And so he built this ginormous mansion up on Roney's Point. It was the first house, I'm told, that had air conditioning in Ohio County.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm like, wait a minute. And the campus that man built was enormous. There were 13 total buildings on the Schmolbach property. Okay, he had his own ice house. He had his own, whatever those, greenhouse. Yeah. He had a carriage, everything. Okay. The volunteer fire departments, Ryan Stanton, a local historian, told me, actually, I guess, borrowed 11 of them, caught them on fire, and practiced.
Wow.
Dude, I'm not blaming anybody, but that was back in the day before people cared about, some people cared about history, but there wasn't that, oh man, if we allow that building to go away, that's history going away. You know what I mean?
Well, they were living in the middle of it.
Right. So, and I'm just trying to help people understand that, no, it's about a quarter mile up the road. There's a nurse's quarter and everything. So many people thought that first mansion, because it's spooky. It's where ghosts are supposed to be. Not in some, 2-level long ranch sanitarium. That house with all the trees around it. Right? So I spent a little bit of time doing that last night. But Erik and I, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about, should it be a series? Should I make a fake news series? How many chapters? And so on and so forth. Erik came up with a great idea that'll surprise you in the future because it's a great idea. I dig it. So that'll be in the future. But I believe because I left a lot of cliffhangers, didn't I?
Sure did.
I mean, there's a lot of, well, it's out, so I can say it. All the ghost said to the deputies and Sheriff Howard Thomas, yeah, I'm thinking of, the sheriff, and I'm like, what can his name be? Well, that's easy enough. That's Take Me Home. Okay? And there's some other ones like, I don't want to give all of them away. If you haven't read it, go on Lead News. You'll dig it. And leave a comment on the thread and let me know what you thought of it. But I'm going to do a couple more this week before starting a new fake news or writing a new fake news for Sunday night, because it comes out at 7 o'clock Sunday nights. I find it to be a lot of fun because of all the writing that I've already done now, all the broadcasting and writing that I've already done. It just kind of, I don't need an interview. I create it all. If I want so-and-so to say this, they say it because they're my character. And it's just so much fun. So I think I'm going to write 2 more on the ghost that was captured at Roney's Point. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then, like I said, come out with a new fake news Sunday night. What do you think?
I think it sounds like a lot of fun. I can't wait to hear it.
Oh, now that is so fake. Yeah, I know. I'm giving him a mean look.
No, it's good that you have an outlet. It really is. And especially in a time where you don't get to talk about a lot of happy news, it's good to have something fun. I think we can all appreciate something that's not, daily counts or why the kids aren't learning or, how
Right.
all businesses are failing.
Well, and it's so funny you even brought that up. I thought about that angle. I did. I'm like, because somebody, it was either you or John or somebody in my life said, the kids are going to finish up with an 8th grade education.
Yeah.
And that hit me. I'm like, no, we can't let that happen. I mean, I kind of jumped, my urgency jumped. I'm like, no. So I thought about writing something along that line, and I thought, no, I'm not going to, no. That parents right now are too stressed,
No,
and they'll just be like,
you're picking the scab.
yeah, I'm not going to do that to people. I like people too much to do that. But a ghost at Roney's Point, listen, I grew up hearing the stories, okay, without the history. Okay, in fact, the first time I even went up there, I didn't go far enough to see the real hospital because everybody said the Schmolbach Mansion was the hospital.
Yeah, the road's scary enough.
Okay, and I don't remember, somebody maybe in college told me, no, it's further down the road, so-and-so. So yeah, number one, it was a great place to cruise. It really was. Now, there was the legend of the man with the shotgun.
Sure.
Well, I know that man's daughter now, okay? And he did walk around the property with a shotgun because he was in charge of being the caretaker, taking care of the property. Kept that property immaculate, dude.
Well, and to this day, I mean, that's part of it. Don't go out there because you're going to get shot.
Well, now, and they lived in the nurses' quarters. Now, a state trooper lives in there, he and his family. So, okay, so with Weelunk, I wrote on, I don't remember the year, but it was in November. I tracked down a couple of people and really kind of jumped into the history of Roney's Point. I wanted to know it. And I found it all out. I did a lot of reading, went to the library a ton to read about it, got hooked up with Ryan Stanton, who does a really cool class up in Wheeling, or up at Wheeling Park, the history of Wheeling. I appreciate that stuff. We have a lot of history, as you said. So I write it. It's huge. Finally, all the legends and myths, it was all straightened out and everything. So I had a friend come over the next day. It was released on a Saturday. On the Sunday, and they're like, I've never been to Roney's Point. And I was like, you know where it is now. Well, I don't want to go alone. Will you take me? So I'm like, okay. So we go up. Dude, there were like 40 people traipsing all over those properties.
No kidding.
Because of that, I guess, because of the story. The people that I spoke with said it was because of this, because of the story. They had always heard the legends, and the story made them super curious.
Yeah.
So, and then of course, me being there got it more involved because people had more questions. So then down the line, still with Wheelunk, I go in. Former Commissioner Orphy Klempa, I asked him, he used to be on the show, I asked him, hey, can you get me into Roney, inside the hospital, inside the sanitarium, so I can see the inside of this place again? Because we had broken in back in college.
Legally, you want in.
Yeah. So we get up there, and I'm thinking he's going to pull out keys, and he pulls out a ladder. So
going in the window.
We go into the window. I took a bunch of really cool photos. I was sad to see the cages in the basement had been vandalized. There were old tires. The caretaker after the lady that I know's father just did not take care of the place.
Sure.
Didn't take care of the place at all. The state troopers are doing a great job. Even built a pitcher's mound in the front yard.
That's cool.
Of Roney's Point, yeah. So I go in. So now I've got the interior photos, I've got all the history and everything, and we get the idea. Jason Kegler, I'll give him credit too. I believe it was his idea to do a movie on Roney's Point. So I'm like, okay. So I hook up with, I guess, a film crew. I write the script. I get my friend Sherry McCutcheon to be the host or hostess of the show. She does a phenomenal job. And I do the voiceovers. And we debuted it Thanksgiving night. I don't remember the year, down at Towngate. And it was a pretty good success. That movie did pretty well. I tried to look up the Roney's Point movie, but apparently the people that have Wheelunk now didn't renew their page.
Dead link.
I guess. So I'm like, how can you lose that? Thank goodness I have a CD of it or a DVD of it. Yeah. Because I thought that was pretty cool. So
no, it was beautiful. It very nicely shot, had all the aerial angles, weren't you guys
using
that's
right.
a drone?
That's right, yeah. Yeah, my buddy Tim from up in Brooke County, he did a great job. His credits are all over it. Tim Pierce, by the way. Go to Pierce. He does a great job. He truly does. Yeah, and I feel bad for everybody who was involved because I thought it came off pretty well. Then the people, I forget who saw it and said, hey, you should make a holiday special about all of Wheeling's Christmas traditions. Why don't you hook up with WTRF? So I did that, and that was an hour special. The film on Roney's Point was 20 minutes, but, we did it the hour special on, what was it, Cooey Ben's, the Talking Christmas Tree. I tried to fit into that thing. It didn't work out well. And Festival of Lights and some other stuff. Santa Clauses around town, stuff like that. Turned out pretty well.
Huge production for a tiny little segment. And now look at you. You got 6 hours every week.
Yeah, this is crazy. All right, we're going to go ahead and take the break. We'll get Josh Contraguerro from Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration on the program. Thank you, Erik, for everything. I do appreciate it. We have a big phone test coming up.
Yep.
So, if you hear some scrambling, because when we interviewed Erica Storch last Friday, her volume was low. We recognized it, and Erik went to work, and hopefully we have it all figured out. So we'll go ahead and take just a short break. You stay where you are, and we'll get Josh Contraguerro from Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration on the program next. I'm Steve Novotney. It is Steve Novotney Lives. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Sorry about that. Facebook is, I guess, having a fit today, not being too friendly. But Bill Helms, and Bill, this is the first time I get to say it, so just indulge me, okay?
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Helms, the sheriff of Marshall County.
That sounds pretty good to me.
I kind of like it, don't you?
Yeah, I like it a lot, to be honest with you. I'm really enjoying this position. I do like it.
Bill, tell me, the first 6 weeks and things like that. Tell me how it's been. Tell me, what has surprised you, what you have changed. Go ahead and explain.
You know what? I got to say, even though, I got a ton of experience in this game and was chief for 8 years, as chief, it's my job to make sure the sheriff that I work for, that his vision and his plans and what he wants to do is carried out. I guess I was shocked at the responsibility. It's overwhelming to start with. You got to, there's 33 deputies and civilian employees and a fleet of vehicles and a tax office and checks to sign, just a number of responsibilities. And I wasn't unfamiliar with them, but, it's like anything else. For the longest time I was second in charge. Now I am the sheriff, and I do feel the responsibility a little more keenly than what I did as chief. But then again, the challenge is great. I really like the fact that I can do what I want to, that I can take the department in the direction that I think is best for the people of the county. And I just been met with, again, an overwhelming support, by people in the county and people who voted for me and people that I'm working with now in different financial areas and whatnot. Everybody has just been absolutely great to work with. Different agencies and different positions in the county have reached out to me offering any support that they could have, any questions we have. One of the things that we were dealing with was getting our asset forfeiture straightened around and make them be compliant. Again, I've just been overwhelmed with the amount of help and support I've received.
And Bill, you had to have expected that, did you not? You ran unopposed, correct?
Well, I had an opponent, but I wasn't technically unopposed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but your vote total was huge.
Yeah.
You had to be very humbled. When, like last week when we started the podcast, we had a bunch of watchers, listeners, whatever we call them now, with podcasts. And, that was very humbling to me. It was like, okay, maybe people really did miss my point of view, my interviews, and things like that. So when those kind of things happen, I always feel that it's very humbling for the individual. Do you concur?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And humbling, that word describes it perfectly. I guess, when you realize that there are a number of people out there that no matter what your job is, whether it be sheriff of the county or broadcaster like yourself, when people reach out to you and some you don't have any idea who they are, and they offer their support and their help and words of encouragement. It's just I guess I can't find adequate words to describe it. It feels so good to know that you do have people who care about you and care about the job you're doing and want to see you succeed. As a matter of fact, I spoke with one woman. That was her exact words. She said, "I want to see you succeed. I want to see you do well." That's a big thing when someone says something like that. See, it means a lot to you.
It does. And as I interviewed Josh Contraguerro last segment about the expansion into Florida for Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration, and he told us he was like, man, people are just proud, that we're growing, and we have a lot of people in this valley who are like that, who are genuine like that. When I saw it, I was like, you go, guys. You go, guys. Unfortunately, we have some people who wish you to fail, and you know that as well.
Yeah, I think so. But, like you said, people they're glad to see Panhandle growing. It is such a unique place in which we live, this Ohio Valley, and I think, and you're right, that people as a collective, they want to see that the valley do well, and the county and the cities in it, and not just for their own, but we still live in a place that's old-fashioned enough, and our values run deep enough that it makes you feel good. When you see, a company like Panhandle or a new restaurant open or a new pizza place and somebody make it, that's I guess that's what we all strive for in our life, to have a bit of success and to be successful and be able to feel good about what we do, no matter what it is. Back to the pizza place. I mean, some people are looking for that, and that's a valuable asset to have. So when we have businesses that take off and people that succeed, it only makes our area stronger and more rich. And again, it's a great place to be. I love the Ohio Valley.
Yeah, and Bill, over the first 6 weeks, you tell us what's the criminal activity been like? Again, what has surprised you?
You know what? Again, I don't think any of the criminal aspects hit me as a surprise. It's what we get paid to do. It's what we deal with. I tell you what, though, and we've talked about this before, you and I, is our mental health system.
Yeah.
I think there's a million ways to improve it, but without a pile of money and a pile of people willing to do that kind of work, it falls upon the shoulders of the sheriff's office. I've had some people tell me, well, there has to be a better way, and maybe there is. But I think for the time being, the folks that come up with these laws years and years ago, when they charged the sheriff's office, the legislators did, with the transports and the safe handling of mental health patients, I think they knew what they were doing at the time. So absent a fleet, and an army of doctors and ambulances for transport, we go to what's the next best thing. Now, is it a medical emergency or a medical procedure? It absolutely is. But when you reduce it down to the nuts and bolts of the matter, some people are extremely disturbed and they become dangerous. So you don't send a doctor or an EMT into a house to take up an individual like that. And we're keenly aware of it being a mental issue, but, we're equipped to deal with that. We're trained and we're funded to go to these situations and deal with things that other people don't want to deal with.
Right.
So, again, I think for what we have right now, I don't see a better option. And there's lots of times, and not everybody, creates such a problem. And a lot of times it is just a simple transport. But, when you need to get someone from point A to point B, and you have a secure vehicle, the county cruisers are secure. Of course, you got a fully uniformed armed deputy, 2 of them. There's a pretty good chance that person's going to arrive at the designated area safe and sound and, unharmed.
Yeah, and some of those trips, Bill, they're pretty darn long trips.
They are long trips. And, I know it's uncomfortable, for a lot of times for the people we take. Would it be better to go in an ambulance, on a gurney or what? Yeah, it might be. But, again, it's not practical. It's not practical to keep, an army of psychologists and a fleet of ambulances simply to do a transport. It does take up a lot of our time, and it does pull people away, from a more traditional patrol duty, but it's essential. It's something that's needed. And again, until someone shows me a better system, we're going to go ahead and continue to do those transports and, protect the people's, well-being, both physically and mentally, and, do the job we're tasked with. And we'll make sure, someone's due to be in Huntington, tomorrow by 5 p.m. will be in Huntington tomorrow by 5 p.m. to actually receive the true medical treatment they need.
Right, right. No, it's very, very, very. It's a necessary role that the sheriff's department has to play in every county in the state of West Virginia. And see, here's the thing to think about, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll use Ohio County. Ohio County's got about, I'm guessing, 35, 36 deputies. Whereas the Wheeling Police Department has, well, they're funded for more than 70. I think when it was set up, maybe they didn't know that, the police departments were going to have more employees than the sheriff's office, et cetera, et cetera. But I agree with you. It's a good system right now. As long as the county can afford those longer trips, what without Hillcrest now, Bill? And, I know that Ohio County had Hillcrest, and Marshall County brought a lot to Hillcrest as well. Now you have to go to Martinsburg or Huntington or Charleston or Bluefield. Those are long trips. Yeah. Those are long days.
They are long trips and long days and long transports, and I've done them, and I'm not going to pretend to, that I like to take a trip to Bluefield and back, and I don't. Again, it's one of our duties. It's one of the things that the law says we shall carry out, and we do. But we have WVU Reynolds in Glendale, and they have a number of beds, and that does take some pressure off, and it's nice to have it right in Marshall County. Now, again, they're pretty busy, and we don't always have a bed there available to us if we need it. But what we do have is, they have a wonderful CEO, Dr. Hess. He does his best to accommodate us. The ER doctors do their best. So, it's not just the sheriff's office per se. We just play a small part in the whole process. And, this is part of that, what I was speaking to you about. People are so helpful, whether it be the nurses or the security personnel or whoever, that everybody seems to work together to achieve the desired goal. And that's what we need. You got to have cooperation.
Yeah, that is very true. And WVU Medicine Reynolds, I knew that was going to help both Ohio County and Marshall County.
Yeah.
But, with the 25 beds that they do have there, and let's face it, just because Hillcrest went away does not mean the issue of mental health went away. Bill, I have to ask you a question I don't know the answer to. And I know over at East Ohio Regional Hospital, soon they're going to offer psychiatric care. They're going to have a psychiatric unit over there. Dr. Johnson, who resurrected that hospital, is a psychiatrist by trade. Would your deputies, would you be permitted to take somebody into Ohio to that facility, just as you can WVU Reynolds?
You know what? I don't typically see that happen. The people we deal with are moved to a facility in the state. Now, I'm not saying that could not happen. A circuit judge, if he or she were to issue an order, and an Ohio circuit judge, whatever they have to do, legal-wise to make it happen. But typically, no, we do not take people into PA or Ohio or any place like that. Everybody we take in state. I
got you. I thought there would be, a need for permission to be granted. I'm just, I'm happy that East Ohio Regional did open up. That gives us, that hospital as an option here in Wheeling, especially with the eastbound lanes of I-70 down.
Yeah. You know what? And, with that hospital opening up, that'll take some pressure off us as well, because, those people that typically come across the river and seek medical treatment, they won't need to.
That's right.
It will alleviate some of it. And let's face it, Steve, if anything has increased during this COVID crisis, pandemic, whatever you want to call it, it's the need for mental health. That continues to, again, take up a lot of our time.
Sure it does. Isolation, I'm so happy that my mother has my father and vice versa.
Oh yeah.
You know, and Michelle and I, we are very interactive with my parents because, you know, with my position at Right at Home, you know, I study a lot about, you know, the elderly and dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson, and so on. And, you know, isolation is about the worst thing. And it's sad, but it's true. The COVID-19 crisis has accelerated those kind of cognitive diseases because of the lack of communication, interaction. You know, if you're just alone and you're getting lonely, good thing. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing for anyone. And
no, you're absolutely right.
So
you're absolutely right about that. I mean, you know, you're right. Loneliness and lack of interaction. We, as humans, we need that. We have to have that in order to thrive and do well. You know.
Yeah, we definitely do. All right, we're going to take a short break, ladies and gentlemen. Bill, you can stay on. You know, to put you on hold with this system, all I have to do is mute you.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're good. But next half hour, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about a story that I did a few months ago. The headline, the title of it was "A Lady and Her Baby in Marshall County." It was a story. Bill and I work well together. I said, Bill, give me a cold case. Give me something interesting to write about because I love writing those kind of stories. And Bill said, I got one for you. And boy, did you. And I have a surprise for you, Bill Helms.
Okay.
The surprise is I've heard from the McCardle family.
Really?
Yeah. So Bill and I are going to talk about that here in just a few moments. And it may very well be an update or maybe even a part 2 of A Lady and Her Baby in Marshall County. I'm Steve Novotney, ladies and gentlemen. It is Steve Novotney Lives right here on Lead News. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, I'm Steve Novotney. Bill Helms, my guest. Bill is, and I do love saying it, Bill is the sheriff, took office January 1, the sheriff of Marshall County. Bill, you were on the program for what, a couple of years, and then you ran for sheriff and won.
Yeah.
Everybody, you were a household name, man.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'm not good at is toot my own horn. It's always uncomfortable, and that was one of the things I learned about when you campaign. You kind of got to toot your own horn a little bit. Does that make sense? Steve?
It does. It does.
It does. And I'm always uncomfortable with that, but I did do my best to get out there and see people and talk to them and let them know, what my thoughts and my feelings were. If I were fortunate enough to be elected sheriff.
Right. No, I was confident you were going to be elected. I loved when, of course, I went to my favorite Marshall County restaurant, the Acapulco, and my friends down there would say, "Hey, we heard Chief Deputy Helms, or we heard Bill on the show," and every time I'd hear that, I would think to myself, "Man, he's got a really good chance to win this thing." And then, I know you had the opponent, but they didn't really campaign. But you still did. And I thought, good for Bill, because, even Tom Howard ran unopposed here in Ohio County. He still campaigned.
And Tom, you take Tom, for example. Tom is a smart, experienced law enforcement guy. And, the people, I mean, sure, did I have to campaign as hard as I did? No. But again, it's important to me. If you call me, I will call you back. I believe in courtesy and civility.
Right.
Now, I might not call you within the next 5 minutes, and I've told people that. As a matter of fact, this was several months ago. A fellow had reached out to me. He needed help on something. Well, and I explained to him, I'll call you back. I'll talk to you. Unfortunately, sometimes the answer is no.
Right.
Now, I don't want to know, but I'd hate worse to be dishonest with somebody. So I strive constantly to tell the truth, even though it might not be the easiest thing to say or the easiest thing for them to hear. But, I do try to be courteous all the time and show respect. And part of that is I'm a straight shooter. I'll tell you the truth.
Yes, you are.
I won't gloss anything over. I won't try to lessen or minimize it. I want to be spoken to in a truthful manner, and I think everybody does. So that, I've been that way my entire career, and I'll continue to be that way. I'm not going to change it. Again, honesty is huge with me. That's one of the things we preach to our people. As a matter of fact, we're in the process of hiring a new deputy. I'm not going to say his name yet because he still has to undergo psychological and drug testing and whatnot. Not that I anticipate he'll fail. But anyway, the point is, after the interview, the chief and I interviewed him and talked for a while. We decided to bring him on. One of the things I tell these young people starting here that, you reflect on me now.
That's right.
I reflect on you. Everything I do affects you and vice versa. It's part of that honesty and courtesy. I won't accept anything less than an absolute professional deputy with that type of interaction with people. I want you to be courteous. I want you to be respectful. And again, if the answer is no, by all means, let the people know what it is, but do it in a calm, courteous, professional manner. Again, that's one of the things, and I'm not saying that the deputies weren't like that before, because they were. I know I've told you in the past what a great group of people they are, and they are a great group of people.
That's right.
So,
Kevin ran a tight ship.
Sure he did.
Yeah,
sure
he did a great job.
He expected the same thing, and I'm just carrying that on and reinforcing it and propping it up a little bit. He was the same way. That's how he treated people and expected to be treated that way in return. So I guess what I'm saying is that's just part of the tradition at Marshall County that's going to continue.
Listen, Bill, and I'm not just saying it because we're friends. I believe the people of Marshall County have been very, very lucky. You have John Krasinskis as your sheriff after 25 years with the West Virginia State Police. An innovative guy, not afraid to, try this and that. Started the separation between the Ohio Valley Drug Task Force, the Marshall County Drug Task Force. Kevin then ran the ship pretty much like John did, with a few tweaks in here and there. And I expect the same under you. I expect you to make it, and this is going to sound bad, but I expect you to make it your department, because you have a lot of great ideas for the future. But again, I reiterate, the residents of Marshall County are damn lucky, just like Ohio County residents are now, to have Tom Howard as sheriff.
Oh yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. Again, when John did some of the things he did, he changed the face of the Marshall County Sheriff's Office.
Yes, he did.
And then Kevin come after him, and I'm fully aware. I've got big shoes to fill, but I'm confident in it. I've known John for a long time, Kevin for a long time, and there's many things we have the exact same thought process on. So it is going to be many things, a continuation of what's been. I think the people of the county have been well served. Part of that being, we have 5 school resource officers, and again, that's possible, cooperation through our county commission and the Marshall County School Board, the principals, the teachers.
Right.
It's a big deal to get all those people to come together and agree on one thing. And, we've been able to put those people in place. As far as I know, and as far as I'm concerned, they're going to stay in place. I'm in close contact all the time with Shelby Haynes, the new superintendent of Marshall County. Well, she's not brand new, but fairly new. And
I think she's doing a great job too.
So do I. She does a great job.
We're in the middle of COVID, Bill. You know what I mean?
Sure.
We're in the middle of COVID. I think she's handling it very well, as I think that Dr. Kim Miller and Rick Jones are doing very well here in Ohio County. You hear the word over and over, unprecedented, but it is. It really is. I fear for the children. I'm concerned for the children, but I know those names that I just named and you just named are doing everything in their power to make things better for those kids.
Sure. I don't know what else they could do. I think they've went above and beyond the call. I think they've been over backwards. I'm happy with, the progress it's made. My oldest grandson, he loves school. I wish he could be there more.
Yeah.
But again, unprecedented. Maybe back in 1918 or 1917, the Spanish flu, but none of us was around then. This is all new territory.
Yeah, right.
For people trying to handle it. So I agree with you. I'm happy with the schools and what you're doing, and the kids are back in school. Maybe not ideally like we'd like to see them. We'll get there.
I sure hope so, Bill. Bill Helms, ladies and gentlemen, the sheriff of Marshall County, a lady and her baby in Marshall County. Bill and I had a conversation. We made some arrangements. Of course, I came up with a great excuse to go to the Acapulco, and that excuse was to meet Bill and get a file from all the way back in 1991. Bill and I often talk about cold cases because he knows I love writing those kind of stories. And Bill, you gave me a pretty thick file. When that story came out and you read it the first time, what'd you think?
I'll tell you what, I think your interpretation of it was quite accurate. I know you talked to Danny Livingston. Danny is a retired Marshall County Sheriff's deputy.
Great guy.
He was the lead. Great guy. He's the lead investigator in that. I think he's always done a good job. I think Danny's a good, smart cop. So when you talk to him, you got it right from the horse's mouth. That file I gave you was everything we had. I didn't hold anything back. There's no papers or medical documents or anything else. That was the file in its entirety, and again, your representation of it was spot on, I believe.
Yeah, well, you talk about tooting your own horn. I went through that file, fine tooth comb, and I'm a highlighter guy, so I made a copy of it. I know you gave me a copy of the original, but I wanted my original to not have all the markings. So I got them copied so I could mark up one. And then, I'm making my notes in a notebook, and then I write the story. At the end of the story, when I was finished composing it, I went back through the story with the file to make sure I didn't mess anything up.
And you know what? You have to do that to
That's
be
right.
accurate, because the way that file was, it's confusing. It's almost two stories woven together. You know what I mean? You read the file.
Yeah.
So it takes a little bit of studying till you get your mind wrapped around it, to get it digested out to what the story is, and to tell it in a manner that is understandable.
And I really do, and I give you credit too. I think we told the story the way it needed to be told.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah, I think so. Again, that's a complex story, and it went a couple of different ways.
Yeah.
When you read the documents in the file, but I think you did a great job. I think you relayed the story and told it well.
Well, and also a friend of mine, John W. Miller, he has moundsville.org, and he also did the PBS documentary on the city of Moundsville. The guy is from Brussels, Belgium, and he worked for the Wall Street Journal, got transferred to Pittsburgh, and was assigned mining and metals. So, of course, he came to Marshall County, the number one coal-producing county in the state of West Virginia now. And he came here, and, of course, when you enter into the city of Moundsville, it's a quaint small town. And hopefully hopefully you're entering in on 3rd Street to find Bob's Lunch. But then you go a little bit further, and you look down the street, and you're like, what the hell is that? And you get a little closer, you get a little closer, you get a little closer. And then, my friend John, he saw the biggest Gothic structure he had ever seen in his lifetime. And then, of course, he looked right across the street at the biggest mound he had ever seen. So John was fascinated, again, as a reporter for the Wall Street Journal, and he just started talking to everybody, and not about coal. he wanted to know about the pen and the mound and the other mound, and all the history and everything. So John even wrote a story. He found a lady and a baby in Marshall County, and he contacted me, and he's like, hey, can I interview you about this? And I'm like, yeah, sure, not a problem. He did a story on moundsville.org on the story that you and I did on a lady and a baby in Marshall County.
That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very cool. And then I was contacted by the McFarland family. Is it McCardle or McFarland?
Yeah, McFarland, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I thought. And the gentleman who lives in Cleveland, he just sent lead news and said, I'm trying to reach Steve. And, of course, that got to me. And I contacted him, and he and I had about an hour's conversation. But he threw, well, in honor of Phil Necro, because Lead has a story on Phil Necro up right now. Yeah. He threw the knuckleball. And he threw a knuckleball. And I'm like, well, what's up? And he goes, I don't believe it was a Native American. And I said, I've studied the history of that area. There were a lot of Native Americans in that area, a couple of different, tribes and everything. He goes, I still don't believe it. And I think Dan Livingston has a little bit of doubt too. So the McCardle family has invited me to go to the overhang where the bones were discovered. And they're like, bring your camera, bring this, you can do whatever. But I think those bones are more recent than Native Americans. So, Bill, this is where you come in. you know you can get this answer. You know that you can answer the big giant question concerning a lady and her baby in Marshall County, the remains found in 1991. And Dan Livingston, deputy at the time and investigator, the only Marshall County deputy to go to the overhang. Nobody else went. Now,
I know.
Now you know how you can finally answer the biggest question of all, Native American or more recent. And you know how that can happen, correct?
I do know. The trouble is those belong to the Delta and Roney Museum now, the remains. I'll need, if that was going to happen, I would need their cooperation. I think what happened before, because I recently spoke to Danny again.
Okay.
Here, I think there was some pushback as well. He said from, I'm not sure, a Native American group or whatever that didn't want the remains to be prodded and probed any more than what they were.
They don't want the carbon testing.
Sure, I understand that too, but I'm like you. I'm keenly aware of also, would be nice to know how old they are, wouldn't it?
Well, and that's the thing. You know, there are several bones. You would only need to use one for the radiocarbon testing, right?
I don't know. I mean, I think so. I think so that would be enough. But there's been enough interest generated.
Especially now.
I'm going to reach out to the museum and see what it would take to get that done, to see how we can go about making that happen.
Well, again, I repeat, that's the way to answer the grand question, you know, Native American or more recent. And I know that, you know, Dan would be happy if the testing took place. When John W. Miller did the story, I posted it on Facebook, and Dan got on there. I sure wish they would do the testing because, that answers that big old question. It very well, those remains of, you know, not only the female around 35. Let me tell you a couple of things that I found out in my research, though, that would lend itself to those remains being Native American. And now, again, I'm just Googling, reading on the internet, trying to figure out, why a lady and her baby would be under that overhang that high above Fishkirt. You know, it's kind of like, So what I found is, back then, and I'm just going to tell you what I read, that when a female became pregnant, the male, the father, and the other men in the community wanted nothing to do with a baby. Okay? Nothing to do. And if you're pregnant and all of a sudden, your water breaks, you go into labor, those men did not want to have a single thing to do with that. So what I read, again, was that the females would get something of a birth partner or another female that had a baby. And they would go off away from that community, have the baby, take care of the baby, clean them up or whatever, and then go back to the community. And if a male, offer that baby to the father of that child. Now, if it was a female, they didn't ostracize anything. There just wasn't that much interaction between, or that would have been if it was a father and a son.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, that female would be more of the mom. Would spend more time with the mom than with the dad.
Right.
Okay, so that would explain why perhaps a mother and her baby went to the overhang. If it didn't work out, if it was a bad birth, okay, and unfortunately mom died or whatever, giving birth, because unfortunately it's very, very sad, but we know that happens at times.
Absolutely.
Then the birth mother, the other female, would just go back to the community and say, well, it didn't go well. And and then, boom, there you are. You've got, unfortunately, a passed away child and a passed away mom. And that's where they remained until they were found by the McFarlands in 1991.
I mean, I know what you're saying about the place is so out of the way. My personal thought is, and it's based just on an educated guess and what I've read about the case and what I know, I'm leaning towards Native American, but I can't say that with any certainty. In all honesty, absent some kind of forensic test, carbon dating or whatever it is, till we have a conclusive answer.
Right, exactly. So if the museum's cool with it, if they're copacetic and everything, I think it'd be pretty neat. The gentleman invited me out. He said we'll ride a side-by-side to the location of that overhang so I can actually see it. And I told him, I said, there were a lot of photos in the file, and I'm a woods kid. I grew up with a hillside above our house, and it was a playground for us, for the kids in the neighborhood. So I've seen those scenes before, if you know what I mean. But hey, if they want to take me there, I'm going to go.
Hey, I would too. Don't pass up an opportunity like that.
No. Now, Bill, in 91, you weren't with the Marshall County Sheriff's Office yet, correct?
No, I just graduated college.
Okay, do you remember any press coverage of those remains being found?
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything.
Honestly.
But you know what? Back in those days, I don't know why, law enforcement was so close-lipped, they wouldn't divulge anything to the media, which I think, we've gotten way far from that these days. But back then, everything was kept under wraps.
Yeah. When Deputy Livingston said, this didn't get any coverage, and I'm like, really? So, I have the dates and everything from the file. So, I was able to access the archives of the Ohio County Public Library online because they were closed at the time. And I actually saw, I didn't see any coverage. So I told my wife, I said, hey, guess what? I broke a story from 1991. And she's like, what? And I just explained it to her. Yeah. And, but without revealing the other topic that I gave you, any progress with that cold case, maybe? Huh?
I mean, I guess not a great deal now.
Yeah, but can I, write about it?
We'll have to talk about that.
Okay, fine. All right, Bill Helms, love having you back on the show. I missed you. I truly did. Tell your beautiful bride, the boys, everybody I said hi. And, you and I will talk. We'll see how often we can have these kind of conversations, okay?
Okay, take care, my friend. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bill Helms, ladies and gentlemen, he is the chief deputy. He is the sheriff. He is the sheriff of Marshall County. All right, that'll do it for the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today. I truly appreciate it. On Wednesday, 3 to 5, John Banco will be here with his schedule of live entertainment. That is actually happening again. And then Ben Seidler, Wheeling City Councilman, Ward 2. Ben's going to come in. We've got a bevy of topics to talk about with Councilman Seidler. So thank you so much again for joining us today. I am Steve Novotney, and this is Steve Novotney Lives on Lead News.